Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I know it's been quite a while since I made a video. I've just been so busy with work, and as you can see, I've moved into a new place. We're now living in Tabor, so I haven't had the chance to come out with any videos lately, but I'd like to talk to you guys about some changes that I've come up with since the last time I made a video. I've decided that I'm going to create more videos that are directed at answering your guys' questions. Now that we're over 1,000 subscribers, I'm getting a lot more questions and a lot more feedback. What I'd like to do is I'd like to make videos that are addressing your unique religious or spiritual experience. So perhaps if you've had a dream or maybe a hallucinatory experience, or even if you suffer from a mental illness or anything of that sort or kind, any unusual or unexpected kind of experience, I'd encourage you to go to the link down in the description. I'm going to include my email there. Now, when you send an email, I just ask that you keep it concise, try to keep it a little short, but I'd love to hear back from you guys, and I'll do the best that I can to give you feedback and give some useful help for some of the questions that you guys will send in. So in today's video, I want to address my testimonial, and I want to pick up where I left off in the previous video. So last time that I was sharing my story, I was talking about when I had doubts about the faith, and I was starting to really struggle with some of the morality. And so as a consequence, I ended up really turning my back on the faith, and I discovered this kind of regret had developed, where I thought to myself, well, it seems to me that religion doesn't hold a lot of value because I invested so much time and so much energy into this, but I don't appear to have gained much out of it. And so I ended up focusing more on trying to improve my relationships. I was really kind of an introvert. I wasn't partying. I wasn't having any fun. I wasn't doing anything interesting, when I was living in the country and just reading about religion all the time. So when I started to move out of religion, I got invested into learning about dating and relationships, and I was trying to build up relationships with women in my life. And I don't know if the motives behind this were entirely positive. I think that in a lot of ways I didn't care. It was more of an idea of I wanted to make up for lost time, I wanted to have fun, and I wanted to enjoy myself. Now, fortunately at that time, through a coworker, I was introduced to Joseph Campbell. And Joseph Campbell really, in a lot of ways, has laid the groundwork for most of the ideas I'm sharing with you guys here in these videos. His book, A Hero with 1,000 Faces, explores the idea that every mythology the world over is filled with this archetypal image of the hero. And this hero journey follows a predictable and predetermined path. And that if you look at all mythologies, all great stories, all great tales, they follow this laid out pattern that can be repeated over and over again. And I was starting to open up to the possibility that maybe there was a different way of looking at religion than the way I had been looking at it up till now. You see, I was mostly focused on the idea of finding one church or one religious community that had all the answers, but here was an idea or a set of ideas that suggested that maybe all religions had some kind of value, that there was something that could be gained by looking at a diversity of different faiths. And through this, I was introduced to Hinduism and Buddhism, which really started to affect my view of spirituality. Specifically, I started to watch the series Mythos, in which Joseph Campbell goes into a great deal of detail, specifically with Hinduism and Buddhism. Now, it was in this series that I was learning about the idea of chakras, these energy centers which exist within the body. Beginning at the base, you have Muladhara, then you have Svadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, and then up into the throat and the third eye chakra, and finally the top of your head. And these represent the stages of a yogic's development in their spiritual life. The lowest chakras representing attachment, sexuality, and anger, and the higher chakras representing self-discipline, love, and finally enlightenment. And so, as I was disciplining myself and learning all of these different dating ideas, you see, I started to study also under some of these pickup artists like Mystery and Neil Strauss and all of this, and I was really devoted to this stuff, and I was really disciplining myself to an extreme degree. I worked at a job where I start work at 4 a.m., I'd work from 4 a.m. till 2 in the afternoon, then I'd go to the gym for an hour and a half, and I was on this strict diet where I was reducing all of my calories. I was lean, I was mean, and I was in really a mentally focused state of mind. I was really focused on my goals, and I was channeling all of my desires into this motivation to accomplish my goals, to be the kind of person that I wanted to be. And this was really injuring my pride. I remember really taking this to heart, where I was admitting to myself that I had to change, not just in an external sense, but in a deeply personal sense. I, as an individual, had to change in order to accomplish the things I wanted to. And as I was doing this, as I was drilling this energy into myself and really pushing towards these goals, I began to feel this sharp pain right here in my solar plexus, just below the ribs. And I noticed that this pain was becoming increasingly intense. I didn't feel that it was a physical pain, which is really odd. I'm usually a pretty big health guy, so I mean, if I feel something like that, my first reaction would be, to go and get checked out at a doctor. But I definitely had the distinct feeling that this intensity that I felt was more of a spiritual nature rather than of a physical nature. And so I just sort of persevered through it. And I remember very clearly one night this pain reaching a kind of almost like a crescendo. It hit a peak, and I just felt myself really let go, and there was this kind of an emotional space that opened up. And the next day, when I went out to a nightclub, I remember very clearly standing there and feeling as if anything at that moment were possible. It was as if I could wish for anything, and it would simply manifest. And this intense feeling, this intense power that came over me, I immediately thought to myself, perhaps this is the wish-fulfilling tree that Joseph Campbell describes in his series Mythos. This might be this wish-fulfilling jewel resting below Anahata, the heart chakra. And as a consequence, I decided that I would wish specifically for something and to see if maybe it would manifest. So the first thing I wished for was specifically for a beautiful girl with long brunette hair. But I also said in the wish that I wanted to fall completely in love and then lose that girl within a year. As I'd made this wish, I felt this feeling began to dissipate. And I really recognized in that moment that in fact maybe this was the wish-fulfilling tree that I was experiencing. And so immediately following that, I said, and I also wish that I achieve Anahata. That was to say, I felt as if I'd accomplished a certain level of spiritual awareness by reaching this wish-fulfilling tree, and I wished to go the next further step. I wanted to gain the next level of spiritual realization. You see, I wasn't really thinking of myself as a Hindu. I just recognized that the Hindus and the Buddhists had ideas that I seemed to be experiencing within my body, and when I tried to apply their ideas and their philosophy and their worldview, it seemed to fit with a lot of the things I was experiencing. So I decided to go with it. And as a consequence, I went into a whole new stage of my spiritual journey. But I'm going to leave that for the next video. So I just want to thank you guys for watching again. Remember to check out that link down below. I'd love to hear and give some feedback on the experiences that you guys have had. And as always, thanks for watching.